You ever had that moment where you feel like everything's going right? You're looking good, you're confident, you're having great conversations with women, and still, they never call, never text, never slide into your DMs. It's like, 1 minute they're laughing at your jokes and giving you that look, and the next, it's radio silence. And you're sitting there, wondering, what did I do wrong? You retrace the entire evening like a detective. What you said, how she smiled, the vibe between you two. And still, nothing adds up. It felt like she was into you. But if she was, why didn't she reach out? Why isn't she chasing you like you thought she would? Here's the truth. Most people don't want to say out loud. It's entirely possible for a woman to deeply crave you, to be curious about you, attracted to you, maybe even fantasize about you, and still never contact you. And the reasons. Why? They're not as simple as, you weren't good enough. No, it runs much deeper than that. Let's start here, because it's not about looks. It's not even about charm or money. Sometimes it's about timing. Sometimes it's about fear, and a lot of times it's about how you made her feel, not in the moment, but after. You see, in the moment, emotions can run wild. You're charismatic, you're mysterious, you're magnetic. She's drawn to that. But when the night's over and she's lying in bed with her thoughts, all those feelings start to settle into something deeper, something her mind starts to question. And that's where everything shifts. Because craving someone doesn't always feel safe. There are women out there who will avoid the men they're most attracted to, not because they're not interested, but because they're afraid of how interested they are, afraid of how powerless it makes them feel. And if you've ever been the guy that lights a fire in her heart, but then suddenly hears nothing back, that might be exactly what happened. Now let's get even more honest. Some women crave control, not in a manipulative way, but in a protective way. They've been hurt. They've had their trust broken. And so when a man comes along who shakes up their world, makes them question everything they thought they could handle, they retreat. They pull back, not because they don't want you, but because having you would mean risking something real, and real is terrifying. So what do? They convince themselves that silence is safer than vulnerability. They don't contact you because if they did, they'd have to face how deeply they're drawn to you. And for a lot of women, that's too intense. It makes them feel exposed. Other times, it's pride. You ever been in a situation where the conversation was electric? You were both laughing, connecting, vibing, but you didn't make a strong enough move? You left the door open, but didn't walk through it. Maybe you played it cool, thinking she'd chase you. And maybe she wanted to, but she didn't. Why? Because in her mind, if you really wanted her, you would have made it unmistakable. Not desperate, just undeniable. Women don't chase uncertainty. They chase clarity with confidence. If she's unsure about how you feel and she's already battling her own emotions, she's not going to make the first move. She might replay the interaction in her head 100 times, but she won't act on it. Because you left her with maybe, not yes. And here's something else most guys don't realize. Women crave consistency more than intensity. You might have given her a moment that felt unforgettable, but if you vanished afterward, didn't follow up, or gave her mixed signals, she's going to assume you were just a temporary thrill. She'll convince herself it wasn't real, just a moment. And she won't reach out. Not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't feel safe doing it. Now let me flip this around for a second. Have you ever craved someone and still didn't call them? Think about that. You saw their number. You thought about texting. You drafted the message in your head. Maybe even typed it. But you never hit send. Why? Because you weren't sure. Because you didn't want to seem too eager. Because you were afraid of rejection, of looking weak, of losing your power. Women go through that too, every single day, especially when it comes to a man who seems like he has options. If you carry yourself like a man who doesn't need anyone, she's going to wonder if she's just one of many, and unless she feels special, she's going to keep her distance, even if she's craving you in silence. You want to know one of the realest reasons she doesn't contact you? Because you never gave her permission to. I don't mean literally, I mean emotionally. She didn't feel invited. She didn't feel that emotional warmth that says, "Hey, it's okay to want me. It's okay to reach out. I won't embarrass you or play games with you." If you're always wearing emotional armor, she's going to assume you're not looking for anything real. And craving real while getting guarded? That's a recipe for disappearing. Another hard truth. Some women are just testing you. Not in a cruel way, but in a subconscious, emotional way. She wants to see if you care enough to follow up, to lead. She wants to see if you're the kind of man who takes initiative, not because she's lazy or entitled, but because in her story, the men who chase her are the ones who want her the most. If you don't reach out, she sees it as a sign. Not that you're high value, but that you didn't care as much as she thought you did. That's why women crave you and still never contact you. Because the craving isn't the problem. It's everything that surrounds it. Her fears, her past, her pride, her perception of your intentions. And this is where things get really deep. Some women crave chaos, not intentionally, but because that's what they're used to. If you're stable, respectful, emotionally grounded, they might crave you but not know how to receive you. You don't match their internal pattern of love. You feel unfamiliar, safe. And for people who grew up around unstable love, safe doesn't always feel exciting. It feels confusing. So, they ghost the good guy and chase the one who breaks their heart. And you're left wondering what went wrong when really, you did everything right. You just weren't playing a game you even knew you were in. Listen, I'm not saying it's your job to fix any of this. You're not a therapist. You're not supposed to crack open every woman's emotional code. But you do have a choice. You can either take it personal, or you can see it for what it is. You are not the problem just because someone didn't call you back. You are not less attractive because she didn't chase you. Sometimes the silence is a reflection of her battle, not your worth. So what can you do about it? You keep being consistent. You keep being bold. You keep leading with emotional clarity, not confusion. You stop waiting for women to prove they want you, and instead you show up in ways that make it clear you know what you want. Because here's the irony. When you stop obsessing over why she didn't reach out, when you stop doubting your value, when you move forward with purpose, that's when women who once stayed silent start coming back. They sense your growth, your groundedness, your energy, and suddenly, the silence that once felt like rejection becomes a second chance. So don't chase the text that never came. Don't lose sleep over the woman who didn't follow through. If she craved you but never contacted you, that's her story to carry, not your failure to fix. And if you stay true to who you are, authentic, confident, grounded, the right one won't just crave you, she'll show up for you. That's the difference. That's the truth. And that's why you keep showing up as the man you were meant to be.